Let's start with Taylor Swift, because Swift and her fans have a bone to pick with the Netflix series Ginny and Georgia. The main character, Ginny, makes a comment in the season finale. She says, "You go through men faster than Taylor Swift," which Taylor called out on Twitter, saying that's a lazy and deeply sexist joke. Her fans hit back even harder, attacking actress Antonia Gentry, who plays Jenny, for reading the line. So what do you think of all this? Is this reaction warranted?
Well, I mean, listen, sexism is bad, misogyny is bad, and Taylor has a right to, call out instances of what, if she thinks things are sexist against her. She called this a joke, though, and I'm not sure I agree that this was a joke. If it was a joke, it was a bad joke, but I don't know that I would characterize it as a joke. This is a line
Her
delivered.
statement was a joke, or
the line?
She called it a joke. She called it a deeply sexist joke, right? But what I'm saying is I don't know if this was a joke. This was a line in a scene between two characters. So to set it up, it is a teenage girl having an argument with her mother. And they're talking about dating. And they're having this back and forth. And the teenage girl shoots at her mother this line, which is about Taylor Swift going through more guys than Taylor Swift. It's meant to cut her mom. It's meant to be a scene in which a teenage girl says a stupid thing to hurt the person who's closest to her, which, when you're writing a scene, is pretty believable. That's what teenage girls do.
It sounds like you're talking
It's meant
about
to fill out a character.
context.
That's the context. So I don't know if it was a joke.
I mean, you're right.
Does context exist on Twitter?
That's a great question, Jess. Yes, go.
Context, I don't know if it exists. And this stan culture, I tell you, it is something to behold. It is both odd and scary, and context matters, except it feels like in that universe. Am I the only one who feels that way?
No. Yeah. I agree with you. And the outrage on this is particularly like the outrage towards the female actor who is like undoubtedly at a sort of beginning stage of her career, as if she could be the one to say to the writer. I think that this line could be misinterpreted by some people as being sexist. I mean, you just don't have that kind of power when you're at that stage of your career. But so Lainey, I think you raised an interesting point about the writing, because as a writer, you're just trying to find a reference point that people will understand in terms she could have said something like, "Oh, hey, mom, like you go through men faster than Liz Taylor." But chances are that's a dated reference. And a lot of people, that would go over their head. But the question is, would a line like that be written to reference Leonardo DiCaprio or like some other person, like a male? Would we hear the same thing? Because therein lies, I think, the inherent sexism, if we don't think that reference could be reversed.
I just feel really bad for this girl, because Antonia, this is her first like major credit in her career. And she's faced a lot in her life. She's a biracial girl playing a biracial girl in the show. And she has shared a lot on her Instagram feed about the racism she's faced in the past. And unfortunately, a lot of the Swifties are not just coming at her saying like, "How dare you say this line?" They're being racist. Some of the comments are awful towards her. And I'm like, does this girl really need this? And that's where I'm going to go back to Taylor. I think that Taylor is smart enough to know that this collateral damage of Antonia getting all this hate, in some cases racist hate. Like, Taylor is powerful. She has 88 million followers on Twitter, and she hasn't been doing a lot on social media. So when she does do something, it's like everybody's watching. And so on the one hand, thanks, Ginny and Georgia, she's giving a lot of attention to a brand new show, and I think that can't hurt. But the collateral damage now is that her words are actually hurting another young woman. And I actually think it's incumbent on Taylor right now to call this back and to say to her Swifties, stand down. This was not meant for Antonia. This was actually meant for the writers or whatever.
The writers, let's get back to what Lainey was talking about for a second, because I feel like there's been a lot of confusion from audiences when it comes to fictional characters doing and saying things we don't condone, and equating that to the content creators condoning this behavior. Just because you're showing something doesn't mean the creator of this is condoning it. Often they're showing something to examine it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exactly what's happening in this situation. Like, was it a well-written scene? I mean, listen, that is the point of watching TV and consuming culture. You can say that, yeah, this show isn't very good and the writing could be better, but what they were doing is creating a character and staying true to that character. And what would a teenager do in a fight with her mother? When they were talking about dating and she was trying to hurt her mother, she would say something like this. Just like, let me remind you of a song released in 2010, a song by Taylor Swift called Better Than Revenge. And here are the lyrics to that song. She's singing about a woman, a girl, and she says of the girl, quote, "She's not a saint and she's not what you think. She's an actress. She's better known for the things that she does on the mattress." She was, it is believed widely, singing about an actress called Camilla Bell, who dated Joe Jonas after Taylor Swift dated Joe Jonas. Many people point to this song and these lyrics as the kind of shaming that Taylor is objecting to now. But Taylor wrote this song when she was a teenager, just like Ginny, the fictional teenager, did to her mother and to Taylor Swift. So what I'm saying here is that we are allowed to make mistakes, and fictional characters should be allowed to make mistakes and say bad things without this kind of disproportionate response.